The gate agent lifted her headset, looked past the screen and said, "There's an issue with your flight." My mother-in-law stopped smiling first. Not because she understood the problem. Because she understood tone. The kind that turns a family trip into a public situation. My sister-in-law's laugh died in the air beside her. My husband stepped forward, already leaning into the version of himself he uses when he thinks charm can fix structure. What kind of issue, he asked. The gate agent glanced at the monitor again, then at the reservation, then back at him. "I'm sorry," she said lower now. "This booking can't be cleared as currently attached." Attached. That word landed harder than anything else. Not because they knew what it meant. Because I did. I was still seated across the terminal near a charging station, my passport face down beside my coffee, watching the entire scene from a distance that looked accidental and wasn't. No one in their group had come after me. Not when my mother-in-law said, "You're not on the list." Not when she added, "This trip is for family only." Not when my sister-in-law laughed. Just a small laugh. The kind women use when they want cruelty to sound social. I had said nothing. I placed my passport on the counter, looked once at my husband, then picked it back up and walked away. 10 minutes later, they were stopped at the gate. And they still didn't know the flight had never really been meant for them. At least not in the way they thought. That part began earlier. At check-in. Charlotte Douglas, Terminal B. 7 in the morning. The kind of airport light that makes everyone look more tired than they admit. Families already stressed. Business travelers moving too fast. Mothers opening Ziploc bags at security. Children asleep on suitcases. We had all arrived separately, but they were moving like a unit. My mother-in-law Elaine in pressed white slacks and a navy cardigan, even though it was barely spring. My sister-in-law Brooke in expensive sneakers and a soft beige airport set that looked accidental and cost too much to be. My husband Grant with the garment bag and the calm face he uses around his family when he wants to appear easygoing and indispensable at the same time. His older brother and wife were there too. A full family cluster. Not loud. Not chaotic. Just tightly arranged. I should have understood the arrangement sooner. There had been signs. There are always signs. The trip had first been mentioned 3 weeks earlier at Sunday dinner. Elaine called it a family reset. That was her phrase. Everything in that house had a phrase. Family reset. Fresh start. Core group. Things that sounded healthy until you noticed who they excluded. The dinner was at her house in Weddington. Big brick place with polished wood floors and a kitchen island large enough to feed 10 people without anyone needing to admit how much money that requires. I had been married to Grant for 8 years. Long enough to know where the glasses were kept. Long enough to know that Brooke always sat half a second too close to Elaine when she wanted to reinforce alignment. Long enough to know when my husband was already choosing silence before the conversation even started. That night, Elaine set down a casserole dish and said, "We're all overdue for time together." Brooke smiled. "Oh, absolutely, just us. Just us." I remember that clearly because Grant did not look at me when she said it. He reached for the salad tongs instead. That was clue number 1. Then Elaine said they were planning a 5-day trip. A villa outside San Diego. Ocean view. Spa access. Family time. I looked up. Grant kept serving salad. "I assumed we'd all go together," I said. Elaine's face changed only slightly. That was her talent. She never looked startled. Only inconvenienced by someone else's timing. "We're still finalizing things," she said. And Brooke, smiling into her wine glass, added, "It's a little complicated." Complicated is another family word. It usually means someone already made a decision and is waiting for the politest version to deliver it. Later that night in our kitchen, I asked Grant directly, "Am I going on this trip?" He was rinsing plates, water running too long, his shoulders slightly up. I watched the back of his neck go red before he turned around. "Mom's just trying to keep it small," he said. I leaned against the counter. "Small is not the same as excluding me." He dried his hands. "Didn't meet my eyes right away." "It's not about excluding you." "Then what is it about?" He gave a little sigh. "Not irritation. Preparation." That was worse. She wants family time. I waited. Sometimes silence gives people one last chance to hear themselves. He used it to keep going. Maybe it would be good if I had a little space with them. There it was. Not his mother's voice. His. I nodded once. And I'm what exactly? He looked away. I didn't say that. No. He hadn't. People rarely say the full thing when the smaller part already does the job. The next 2 weeks passed in that soft, poisonous way family tension often does. No one mentioned the trip directly around me. But details kept surfacing. A sunscreen recommendation from Brooke. A text from Elaine in the family group about our schedule. A note from Grant asking if I'd seen his passport renewal because he didn't want last-minute issues. He used our printer to print itinerary documents he left face down on his desk. Face down is not privacy. It is announcement disguised as carelessness. I saw one corner of the confirmation when I brought in folded laundry. 6 passengers. Not 7. I stood there for a moment holding one of his white shirts over my arm and understood 2 things at once. First, they had decided already. Second, he had let me discover it slowly so he would not have to say it out loud. That part cut deeper than Elaine ever could. At church the next Sunday, a woman from Elaine's Bible study smiled and said, "Oh, I hope you all have such a sweet family trip." I smiled back. "We'll see." She laughed because she thought I was joking. That afternoon I asked Grant again. No softness this time. Am I booked on this trip or not? He was standing in the garage sorting charger cables. Always busy with his hands when he didn't want to be still inside a conversation. He said, "Mom handled the reservations." That is not an answer. He closed the toolbox. Looked at me. Then finally, "Not yet. Not yet." That tiny phrase men use when they are trying to leave themselves moral room inside a decision they've already made. I nodded. "Then don't pretend we're confused." He rubbed the back of his neck. "You're making this bigger than it is." Number. I was making it visible. The morning of the flight, he still asked if I was ready by 6:30. That almost impressed me. Not the cruelty. The discipline. The ability to continue performing normal around a structure built on a mission. I dressed anyway. Black slacks. Cream blouse. Light cardigan for the flight. Nothing dramatic. Nothing wounded. If they wanted me outside the family frame, they were not going to get tears to help sharpen the edges. We drove mostly in silence. Grant talked once about traffic near the terminal. Once about whether I had packed snacks. At one red light, he reached for the radio and then stopped as if music would make the car seem more honest than it was. At the departure curb, Elaine and Brooke were already there. Suitcases upright. Carry-ons tagged. Elaine spotted us first and smiled at her son before her eyes moved to me. That smile changed, not disappeared. Adjusted. Like something she had hoped would resolve itself had now arrived needing management. Check-in was at the premium counter because Elaine believes lines are for people who did not plan hard enough. The agent asked for passports. One by one they slid them forward. Elaine. Brooke. Grant. His brother and sister-in-law. Then I placed mine on the counter too. Elaine's hand moved first. Not fast. Not harsh. Just enough to stop the flow. "You're not on the list," she said. The agent looked up. Then back down. Unsure whether to proceed. I looked at Elaine. And because people like her often rely on tone more than words, I gave her neither anger nor confusion to work with. "What do you mean?" I asked. Her expression remained composed. "This trip is for family only." There it was. Public. Clean. Structurally cruel. Brooke laughed. Just once. Soft. Then she looked away like even she knew the sound had gone too far. Grant said my name. Not in protest. In caution. That was when I knew he was not going to stop this. He was going to manage its surface. I turned to him. He looked back for 1 second, then toward his mother, then toward the counter. A whole marriage in one eye movement. I picked up my passport, set it in my own hand, and said nothing. Because suddenly language felt too generous. I stepped away from the counter. Not rushed. Not humiliated. Just removed. No one followed. That mattered. At a row of seats across from the gate area, I sat down, placed my passport face down beside my coffee, and watched them continue as if check-in had simply required a minor correction. That was the second lesson. Exclusion always looks most ordinary to the people performing it. Then I opened my phone. One notification was already waiting. A reservation thread. The one I had not touched in weeks. The one Grant assumed I had forgotten. The one attached to the travel account that had originally been built under my membership years earlier, when I managed all of our points upgrades and linked profiles because you're better at details. I looked at the screen. Then at them. Then back at the screen. I touched one setting. Not a cancellation. Not revenge. A release. A detachment from the account structure that had been holding the linked booking profile together. Then I set the phone down. Face down. 10 minutes later, the gate agent stopped them. And from across the terminal, watching their family unit freeze beneath fluorescent light, I understood something with complete calm. They had not removed me from the trip. They had only stepped into a version of it they did not understand. I didn't move when the line stalled. That was important. Movement signals investment. Stillness creates distance. From my seat near the charging station, I could see the gate clearly. Elaine stood at the front. Shoulders straight. Chin lifted. The posture she uses when she expects systems to adjust to her. The gate agent didn't adjust. She kept her tone even. Professional. But firm. "I'm sorry," she said again. "This reservation is no longer linked correctly." No longer. That phrasing matters. It implies something was intact, then wasn't. Grant stepped closer. Lowered his voice. Trying to make it sound like a private correction instead of a public interruption. "Can you just fix it?" he asked. The agent shook her head. "I need to verify the primary account holder." Silence. A small one. But visible. Brooke shifted her weight. Crossed her arms. Uncrossed them. Her eyes moved quickly. Looking for someone to anchor to. Not me. Never me. Elaine spoke next. "We have confirmation numbers," she said. "I understand," the agent replied. "But the account connection has been removed." Removed. That word reached them differently. Not like the one Elaine used at the counter. Not social. Structural. Grant turned slightly. Scanning the terminal. That was when he saw me. Across the way. Still seated. Still. My passport beside me. My coffee untouched. He held my gaze for a second. Then looked back at the counter. He didn't call out. That told me everything. He still believed this was something he could resolve inside his own position. Inside the version of the family that didn't include me. He stepped back. Pulled out his phone. Dialed. I watched it ring on my screen. His name. Lighting up. Then fading. Then lighting again. I didn't answer. Not out of spite. Out of clarity. Because answering too early would turn this back into a conversation. And this wasn't a conversation. It was a consequence. He called again. I turned the phone face down. The vibration against the table was soft. Rhythmic. Like something trying to re-enter a space it had already left. At the gate, Claire, no, not Claire. Brooke. Always Brooke in moments like this. She leaned toward Elaine, whispering. Not quietly enough. "What did she do?" she said. Elaine didn't respond. Not immediately. She was thinking. Recalculating. Trying to understand what had shifted without her permission. The agent spoke again. "I'll need to contact support to re-establish the link," she said. "That may take some time." How much time, Elaine asked. "Possibly longer than your boarding window." There it was. Time. The one thing you can't negotiate once it's gone. Grant stepped away from the counter. Walked toward me. Not quickly. Not slowly. Just decisively. That was new. He stopped a few feet away. Didn't sit. Didn't touch the chair. Just stood there. "Did you do something?" he asked. No accusation. Not yet. Just uncertainty. I looked up at him. Then at his phone in his hand. Then back at him. "What do you think I asked?" He exhaled. Looked down for a second. Then back at me. "This isn't funny." "I'm not laughing." Silence. Then, "Can you fix it?" he asked. There it was. Not what happened. Not why. Fix it. I tilted my head slightly. "Why would I asked. His jaw tightened. Not anger. Pressure. Because we need to board in 10 minutes. I nodded once. That sounds stressful. He stared at me, trying to place this version of me. The one not stepping in. The one not smoothing edges. You're part of this, he said. I held his gaze. No, I replied. I was. Silence. He looked back toward the gate. Elaine now speaking more firmly to the agent. Brooke pacing slightly. The group no longer cohesive. Just individuals reacting. He turned back to me. Whatever this is, he said lower, now you're making it worse. I leaned back in the chair. Am I asked. He didn't answer. Because he couldn't. Not without acknowledging what had already happened. You weren't on the list, he said. As if repeating it would stabilize something. I nodded. Yes? That's all this was. No, I said. That's what you told yourself. Silence. Then, we didn't mean... You didn't ask, I said. He stopped. Because that was true. Simple. Unavoidable. Behind him, the gate agent made an announcement. This flight is now in final boarding. Movement started. Other passengers stepping forward. Tickets scanning. A line forming. Except for them. Held in place. Not by a person. By a structure they didn't understand. Grant looked back again. Then at me. What do you want? He asked. There it was. The question underneath everything. Not about the flight. About position. I didn't answer immediately. Because the answer mattered. I want you to understand something, I said. What? That I didn't stop you from going. He frowned. You're standing right here. Yes, I said. And you're standing right there. Silence. Then, I stepped out, I continued. And everything that depended on me stepped out with me. He looked at me. Really looked this time. Trying to connect something. A memory. A detail. The account. The bookings. The points. The structure I had managed for years because it was easier for them to let me. You're tied to the account, he said. Not a question. A realization. I nodded. Yes. And you? I removed myself from it, I said. Silence. Then, why, he asked. I held his gaze. Because you removed me first. That landed. Not loudly, but completely. He looked back toward the gate. The line nearly gone now. The agent speaking again to Elaine. Brooke's voice rising slightly. Not loud, but no longer controlled. Time closing. Structure holding. He looked back at me, then said something different. Not fix it. Not help us. Just, I didn't think it would matter. I nodded. That's the problem. He exhaled. Long. Then sat down across from me. Not asking. Just sitting. That was the first real shift. Not in the system. In him. He sat there for a moment. Not speaking. Not reaching for his phone. Just adjusting to a version of the situation he hadn't prepared for. Behind him, the final boarding call echoed. Clear. Unavoidable. This is the last call for Flight 284 to San Diego. Elaine's voice carried next. Controlled but thinner now. Grant. He didn't turn immediately. That mattered. Because in our marriage, he has always turned first toward the loudest expectation. Now, he stayed where he was. You need to come here, she said. He looked back at her. Then at me. Then back again. I'll be there in a minute, he replied. That was new. A minute. A delay. A space between instruction and compliance. Elaine didn't like that. I could see it in the way her shoulders lifted slightly. In the way she stepped closer to the counter again. Reasserting position. Brooke hovered beside her. No longer laughing. Watching. Trying to understand where the shift was happening. At our table, Grant leaned forward slightly. Elena, he said. My name sounded different now. Not casual. Not assumed. Tell me what this actually is. I looked at him. Not rushed. Not defensive. Just clear. It's a linked booking structure, I said. You know that. I know you handle points, he said. That's not the same thing. No, I replied. It's not. Silence. Then, when we started traveling more, I set up a primary account, I continued. Everything runs through it. Reservations, upgrades, companion profiles. He nodded slowly. Yes. You're all attached to it. And I'm the primary holder, I said. Silence. Then, so when you removed yourself, I didn't cancel anything I said. I detached the structure. He leaned back. Processing. Not emotionally. Mechanically. Trying to map cause to effect. And that broke the link, he said. Yes. And the system flagged it. Yes. Silence. Then, why didn't it just stay, he asked. I held his gaze. Because it was never built to run without me. That was the truth. Not dramatic. Not exaggerated. Just accurate. He looked down at the table. Then back up. You could fix it, he said. Not a demand this time. A statement. I didn't answer immediately. Because this was the moment where things either returned to the old pattern or moved into something else. Behind him, I heard Brooke again. We're going to miss the flight, she said. Not to anyone in particular. Just into the space. Elaine responded. We are not missing this flight. That certainty. Still intact. Even now. Grant looked back once more, then at me. They're not going to board without this, he said. I know. Silence. Then, what do you want? He asked again. Different now. Less pressure. More understanding. I leaned back in my chair. Looked at the gate. At the last few passengers scanning through. At the agent now focusing entirely on Elaine. I want you to see something clearly, I said. What? That this didn't start at the gate. He nodded slightly. I know. No, I said. You're starting to. Silence. Then, you let them do that, I continued. At check-in. His jaw tightened. I didn't think. I know, I said. That's the point. Silence. Then, you didn't stop it. He didn't argue. Didn't defend. Because there wasn't anything to defend. Behind him, the gate agent spoke again. Ma'am, we need to resolve this or you'll have to rebook. Rebook. Another structural word. Elaine's voice rose slightly. That's not acceptable. Grant closed his eyes for a second. Then opened them. Looked at me. Not asking. Not pushing. Just waiting. That was the shift. Waiting. I picked up my phone. Turned it over. The screen lit up. Notifications still coming through. Messages from Brooke. From Elaine. From his brother. All variations of the same thing. What happened? Fix this. Call me. I didn't open them. I didn't need to. I already knew. I looked at Grant. Do you understand now, I asked? He nodded. Yes. What do you understand? He exhaled. That this wasn't about the flight. Yes. That we removed you from something you were still part of. Yes. Silence. Then, and now everything built on that doesn't hold. I nodded. That's right. He sat there, hands resting on his knees, not fidgeting, not deflecting, just present. Behind him, the boarding door began to close. The agent stepped away from the counter. Elaine still speaking, still trying to hold something in place. Brooke pacing, the structure fully visible now. Not aligned, not stable, just exposed. Grant looked back one last time, then forward again. We're not making that flight, he said. Not a question. A statement. Yes, I replied. Silence. Then, what happens now, he asked. I held his gaze. That depends on what you choose to understand. He nodded slowly. Then did something I hadn't expected. He didn't stand up. He didn't rush back. He stayed. With me. While the flight left without them. The gate door closed with a soft final sound. Not loud. But decisive. A click you don't hear unless you're listening for it. Grant didn't turn this time. He already knew. Across the terminal, Elaine was still speaking. Not loudly. But firmly. The way she always does when she believes persistence can replace structure. The agent was no longer responding. That was the difference. When systems stop engaging, conversation ends. Brooke stood beside her, arms folded, phone in hand. Scrolling. Not for information. For reassurance. There wasn't any. At our table, Grant sat back. Hands resting loosely now. Not tense. Just still. They missed it, he said. I nodded. Yes? Silence. Then, Mom's not going to take this well. Number. Another pause. Then, she's going to say this was intentional. I looked at him. It was. He didn't react to that. Didn't push. Didn't defend. Just accepted it. Why now, he asked. Not why did you do it? Why now? Better question. I folded my hands on the table. Because last night and this morning showed me something clearly, I said. What? That I was part of something you all relied on, without recognizing it. Silence. Then, and you removed me from it, I added. He nodded. Yes. No hesitation. That mattered. Recognition without delay. Behind him, Elaine finally turned. Saw us. Saw him sitting. Not moving toward her. Her expression shifted. Not confusion. Realization. She walked over. Not quickly. But with purpose. Brooke followed. A step behind. Always a step behind. Grant, Elaine said. He didn't stand. That was the second shift. Yes. Her eyes moved from him to me. Then back. We need to fix this, she said. He glanced at me. Then back at her. We missed the flight. That's not the point, she replied. It is, he said. Silence. That landed harder than anything else. Because it wasn't about the flight. It was about control. And for the first time, he wasn't aligning with hers. Elaine turned to me. What did you do, she asked. Her tone wasn't accusatory. Not fully. It was searching. Trying to map cause to effect. I stepped out, I said. That doesn't explain this. It does, I replied. If you understand how it was structured. Brooke stepped forward. So you just broke everything she said? I looked at her. Number. I revealed it. Silence. Then. That's not fair, she said. Why? Because we didn't know. I nodded. I know. And you didn't tell us. You didn't ask. That again. Simple. Unavoidable. Elaine exhaled slowly. Then sat down. Not next to us. Across. Creating distance. Positioning. Explain it, she said. I looked at her. Not rushed. Not defensive. The bookings were linked through my account, I said. The profiles, the upgrades, the confirmations. She listened. Carefully now. Not interrupting. When I removed myself, the system flagged the inconsistency. I continued. And without the primary link, it couldn't clear. Silence. Then. You could have told us, she said. I held her gaze. You could have asked. Another pause. Longer this time. Then. We didn't think it mattered, she said. I nodded. Yes. That's clear. No emphasis. No tone. Just truth. Brooke looked between us. So now what she asked. There it was. The practical question. The one that always follows disruption. Elaine answered first. We rebook, she said. On a different account. Grant shook his head slightly. That's not the point. She turned to him. What do you mean? He looked at her. Then at me. Then back. It's not about getting on another flight, he said. It's about what we did before this. Silence. That landed. Not because it was loud. Because it was accurate. Elaine's posture shifted. Slightly. Less rigid. Not soft. But adjusting. We were trying to keep things simple, she said. Yes, I replied. And we didn't realize. That I was part of the structure, I said. She nodded. Slow. That was the first full acknowledgement. Not defensive. Not framed. Just accepted. Brooke looked down at her phone. Then back up. So if she fixes it, we can still go, she asked. There it was. The instinct. Return to function. Return to plan. Elaine didn't answer her. She was looking at me. Not at the system. At me. What do you want, she asked. That question again. Different now. Not strategic. Not controlling. Just necessary. I didn't answer immediately. Because the answer had changed. This wasn't about the flight anymore. It wasn't about the account. It was about position. I want clarity, I said. In what sense, she asked. In how I exist in this family, I replied. Silence. Then, you're part of it, she said. I shook my head slightly. No, I said. I was. That landed. Because it mirrored what had already happened. You made that clear this morning. Another pause. Then, that's not what I meant, she said. I know. But it's what you did. Silence. Grant leaned forward. Elena's right, he said. We didn't see it. Elaine looked at him. Then back at me. What would you have us do, she asked. There it was. Not control. Not assumption. Request. I met her eyes. Understand that I'm not an add-on, I said. I'm part of the foundation you just stepped out of. Silence. Then, and if we understand that she asked, I leaned back, looked at the gate, at the empty space where the line had been, at the closed door. Then we decide what this looks like moving forward, I said. Not return. Not repair. Definition. That was the shift. And once you reach that point, you don't fix the past. You choose the future. No one spoke for a moment after that. The terminal noise filled the space. Rolling suitcases, announcements for other gates, a child crying somewhere behind us. Normal sounds. But inside our small circle, everything had shifted. Elaine didn't look at the gate anymore. She looked at me. Not evaluating. Listening. That was new. Brooke shifted in her seat. Restless. Her energy had nowhere to go now that the plan had dissolved. So what does that actually mean, she asked. Not impatient. Just unanchored. I turned to her. It means you don't move forward pretending nothing changed, I said. And we don't stay stuck here, she replied quickly. Exactly. Silence. Then she exhaled. Looked down. Nodded slightly. That was as close as Brooke gets to agreement. Grant leaned forward. Forearms on his knees. Grounded. What does it look like from your side, he asked. Better. That question mattered. Because it wasn't about restoring function. It was about understanding position. I'm not stepping back into the same role, I said. He nodded. I wouldn't expect you to. Good. He was moving. Not fast. But correctly. Elaine spoke next. We made a decision without you, she said. Yes. And we treated it like it didn't affect you. Yes. Silence. Then, that was wrong, she added. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just accurate. I didn't respond. Because acknowledgement doesn't need applause. It needs space to settle. Brooke looked up again. So are you going to fix it, she asked. Still practical. Still anchored to outcome. I met her eyes. Not like before. What does that mean? It means I don't rebuild something that ignores where I stand, I said. Silence. Then, so we just don't go, she asked. I looked at the empty gate again. At the absence of movement. You already didn't go, I said. That landed. Because it wasn't hypothetical anymore. It had already happened. Grant rubbed his hands together. Not nervous. Thinking. We can rebook, he said. Yes. Separately. Yes. Another pause. Then, but that's not the point, he added. No, it wasn't. Elaine leaned back slightly. Her posture less rigid now. More reflective. You managed all of this, she said. Yes. For years. Yes. And we never really asked how it worked. Number. Silence. Then, we just expected it to, she said. I nodded. That's what happens with structure. Brooke glanced between us. So now we understand, she said. Is that enough? I considered that. Not quickly. Then said, it's a start. Silence. Then Grant said something different. Not about the flight. Not about the system. About us. I didn't say anything this morning, he said. I looked at him. Number? I should have. Yes. He held my gaze. Didn't look away. I didn't think it through. I know. That was the second real acknowledgement. Not about structure. About behavior. That mattered more. Elaine watched him, then looked at me again. We can't undo that moment, she said. Number. But we can decide what happens next. Yes. That was the shift. From correction to choice. Brooke leaned back, crossed her legs. Less tense now. So what happens next? She asked again. But this time, it sounded different. Less urgent, more open. I looked at each of them, one by one. Not searching. Not measuring. Just seeing. Then I said, I don't fix this for you. Silence. Then, I fix my position, I continued. And if that aligns with you, we move forward. Grant nodded. That makes sense. Elaine followed. Yes. Brooke hesitated. Then, okay. That was enough. Not agreement. Alignment. Partial. But real. The announcement for the next flight came over the speaker. People started gathering at the gate again. Movement returning. The world continuing. Inside that movement, we sat still. Not stuck. Just present. Grant stood first. Not abruptly. Just naturally. Let's get coffee, he said. Not a solution. Not a plan. A reset. I nodded. Okay. Elaine stood next. Then Brooke. No one rushed. No one led. We moved together. Not as before. Not as a unit. As individuals choosing to walk in the same direction. That was the difference. And once you feel that, you don't go back to anything else. We didn't rebook that day. That was the first decision that felt intentional. Not rushed. Not reactive. Just chosen. We sat at a small cafe near Gate C. 4 cups of coffee. 1 table. No itinerary. No urgency. That alone said more than anything else. Brooke checked her phone once. Then set it down. Didn't pick it up again. Elaine stirred her coffee, even though she hadn't added anything to it. Grant leaned back, watching, not managing. That was new. I held my cup. Didn't drink right away. Just felt the warmth in my hands. Because this wasn't about moving forward quickly. It was about understanding where we actually were. We can book something for next week, Brooke said. Not pushing. Just offering. Grant looked at me. Not at his mother. Not at Brooke. At me. What do you think he asked? I met his eyes. I think the timing isn't the issue, I said. Silence. Then, what is Elaine asked? Position, I replied. She nodded slowly. Yes. She was listening now. Not leading. Then define it, she said. That mattered. Not explain yourself. Not justify it. Define it. I set my cup down. Looked at the table. Then at each of them. I'm not managing things quietly anymore, I said. Silence. Then, okay, Grant replied. No hesitation. Good. I'm not stepping in when something breaks unless I'm part of the structure that holds it, I continued. Brooke nodded. That makes sense. Elaine didn't speak yet. She was still processing. And I'm not being included after the fact, I added. Silence. Then, we didn't realize that's what we were doing, she said. I know. That was enough. Not blame. Recognition. Grant leaned forward. So you're part of the planning, he said. Yes. From the beginning. Yes. And the structure reflects that. Yes. That landed. Because it was clear. Not emotional. Not negotiable. Just defined. Brooke looked between us. So if we plan another trip, she said, it's different. Yes. How? I looked at her. You don't build it without me and then ask me to step in, I said. She nodded. That's fair. Elaine finally spoke again. We assumed you would always be there, she said. I met her eyes. That's the problem. Silence. Then, you don't see something clearly when it's always there, she added. Yes. That was the closest she would come to admitting it. And it was enough. Grant picked up his coffee, took a sip, then set it down. I want to do this right, he said. I looked at him. What does that mean, I asked. It means I don't let that happen again, he said. Good. Simple. Direct. And I asked. He paused. Then, and I don't stay quiet when it does. That mattered more. Not structure. Behavior. I nodded. That's the part that holds. We sat there for a moment. No one speaking. Because everything that needed to be said had been. Not perfectly, but clearly. After a while, Brooke stood. I'm going to grab something else, she said. No tension. No escape. Just movement. Elaine watched her go, then turned back to me. You've been carrying more than we saw, she said. Yes. And we treated it like it would always be there. Yes. She nodded. Slow. That won't happen again. I didn't respond. Because that kind of statement doesn't need agreement. It needs time. Grant stood. I'll walk you out, he said. I looked at him. Okay. We left the table. Walked through the terminal. Not rushing. Not delaying. Just moving. At the exit, he paused. Looked at me. Thank you, he said. For what I asked. For not just walking away? I considered that. Then said, I didn't stay for you. Silence. Then, I stayed for clarity. He nodded. I see that now. Good. That was enough. I stepped outside. The air felt different. Not because anything had changed. Because I had, and once you understand your position, you don't need to fight for space. You just choose where you stand. 2 weeks passed before anyone mentioned travel again. That was the first real change. No rushed rebooking. No, let's just try again next weekend. No quiet attempt to reset without addressing what had shifted. Just space. Real space. On a Thursday evening, Grant brought it up. We were in our kitchen. Same counter. Same light over the sink. But the air felt different. Less managed. More intentional. Mom asked about planning something again, he said. I rinsed a glass. Set it in the rack. Didn't turn around right away. What did you say? That I'd talk to you first. I dried my hands. Turned. Looked at him. That sentence would have sounded small before. Now, it carried weight. Okay, I said. He leaned against the counter. Not defensive. Not careful. Just present. She doesn't want to rush it, he added. I know. Silence. Then, but she wants to do it right. I nodded. That's new. He almost smiled. Yeah. We stood there for a moment. No pressure. No urgency. Then I asked, what do you want? He didn't answer immediately. Because that question wasn't simple anymore. I want us to go, he said finally. Together. I held his gaze. Then it has to be built that way from the start. He nodded. It will be. That was enough. No promises. No over-explaining. Just alignment. The following Sunday, we went to Elaine's house. Same driveway. Same front door. Same polished floors. But the way we walked in, different. No one assumed. No one directed. Elaine greeted me first. Not Grant. Not the group. Me. Hi, she said. Hi. No tension. No performance. Just acknowledgement. In the kitchen, Brooke was already there. Cutting fruit. She looked up. Hey. Hey. No edge. No softness either. Just normal. That mattered. We gathered around the island. Not seated yet. Not structured. Just standing. Elaine spoke. We've been looking at options, she said. Then she stopped. Looked at me. Not continuing until I was part of it. That was the shift. Not inclusion after the fact. Presence at the start. What are you thinking? I asked. She relaxed slightly. We were considering Santa Barbara, she said. Small house, ocean view. I nodded. That works? Brooke added. We haven't booked anything. I looked at her. Good. She smiled slightly. Not defensive. Just understanding. Grant leaned beside me. What matters most? He asked. That question landed. Not because it was new. Because it was finally being asked. Clarity, I said. In what sense? Elaine asked. In how everything is structured, I replied. Before it's finalized. She nodded. Yes. No hesitation. No pushback. Just agreement. Brooke set the knife down. Turned fully toward me. So we build it together, she said. Yes. And no one's assumed. Yes. That was enough. Not perfect. But clear. We sat down to eat. Same table. Same arrangement. Different posture. No one leaning into position. No one holding space. Just sharing it. At one point, Elaine passed me a plate. Not automatically. She looked at me first. Waited. I took it. Thanks, I said. She nodded. Small. But real. After dinner, we moved to the living room. The conversation stayed light. Travel ideas.
Weather.
Flights. But underneath it, something held. Not tension. Structure. At one point, Brooke laughed. Not sharp. Not performative. Just natural. I noticed it. Because before, I would have measured that moment. Now, I didn't need to. Later, as we stood to leave, Elaine walked me to the door. Not Grant. Her. Thank you for coming, she said. I met her eyes. I chose to. She nodded. I know. That mattered. Because choice is the difference between belonging and position. I stepped outside. The evening air cool. The street quiet. I walked to the car. Got in. Closed the door. And sat there for a moment. Not because I needed to think. Because I wanted to feel it. The difference. They didn't fix what happened. They didn't erase it. They adjusted to it. And that's what holds. If you've ever been told you don't belong somewhere, don't rush to argue your way back in. Don't prove your value in a system that didn't see it. Step back. Let it show you what it actually depends on. Because the moment you understand your position, you stop asking for space. You choose it. And when you choose it, everything changes.